Welcome back. Good morning. This is K24 this morning, going into the news super review. As always, like your feedback at K24 TV. Bob Otieno Owino hitting demonetization very hard at K24 this morning. I love the phone banking because I can access my money mara hiyo. Yeah. So that's somebody who's definitely on your side. Miko saying good morning. Love the discussion right there. Keep it coming. As of now, Alex Chick saying love the panelists watching from Eldoret. Let's go. Gashari saying I am in. Let us discuss the big issues of the day. Keep your tweets coming in at K24 TV. There's one here at Jack Gashara saying 20 million shilling gift, Daktari. That's not a small gift. I think it was just a hypothetical figure.
No, but apparently, you've seen the craziness that people have done in this country. Was it not the other day that Sonko bought a wife a gift for how much? How much was it?
When Dubai.
Yeah. Was it, how much was it? Was it $40,000?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. How much is that?
And he did that in cash.
Yeah, exactly. How much is that? $40,000 to me, that's 4 million. That's a gift. So there's so many things that people do. How many people have we seen, you know, a guy just comes out of a showroom and buys a new car for the wife or the girlfriend? Right. I mean, Kenyans have money.
Yes.
But your question actually, which should be our parting departure from this topic, is has it solved this issue? Has it solved what it was supposed to do? Because there were two things that the governor said. One was the illicit financial flow, and secondly, counterfeits. Has it done that? I think it has.
Right. Yes. Okay, fantastic stuff. And even as we move from that...
But you know, there's something which I'm compelled to say.
On the demonetization issue?
Yes. I think it has left the Deputy President looking very good.
Why is that? Why is that,
They all left the impression that it was him who was having sags. Even the former Prime Minister was saying bags and sags and, I don't know, frias and makunias of money in the hands of the Deputy President.
Right. And you know,
apparently, they have not found a single sack.
You know, the problem with that is, even when somebody hypes something like that, bags and sacks, it's like you saying, you know where the money is, but you cannot go get it. You know, when you say, you know, somebody has money and sacks in his house, why can't you go to that house
and pick the money?
Right, if you know that it is indeed there.
Yeah, so I think it is good. It is good sometimes to depoliticize. It's always good sometimes to look at things from the lenses.
Maybe you want to tell the viewers what you mentioned to me privately about the real money.
No, it's not even a secret. Right. Yes. The real money is not what you're talking about. The real money is what is outside.
Yes, offshore.
It's offshore. That is where the problem is. How do we get that money that is outside to come in?
They had attempted by saying, we'll give you amnesty, just repatriate the money, you won't ask any questions.
Amnesty as what? And there was a time the president actually, the Jubilee administration, they were very keen on it. You remember the president meeting with people from the UK, the Kroll, you remember? They actually wanted to help the people from the Middle East, Dubai included. You know, all
Switzerland as well.
Yes, Switzerland. All those events, you know. They were actually talking with government, and they are still doing that, talking to government, to give, you know, passage to those people who've kept money outside. To me, that's where the problem is. Bring this money back, and I can guarantee you, Jeff, we've sorted out our debt.
Exactly. And you see, even if a man got money in a corrupt way, but then invested that money into this economy, it would create jobs.
Right.
Yeah, but once he takes the money offshore and banks it there, the money does not help our economy. So even as we deal with corruption issues, let the money that has been acquired corruptly be invested into the economy.
Exactly.
So the government should be keen on making sure that people with the offshore accounts, that money is brought back.
Okay, exactly. We'll wait and see what the government does in terms of that. Let's bring it back home from offshore accounts to the Huduma number. Yesterday, Interior PS Karanja Kibisho said registration for Huduma number was voluntary. He went on to deny claims that the registration was mandatory, saying the government had only sensitized the public on its importance. The sentiment that was on during the Huduma registration process was that if you don't do this, you might not be able to access government facilities. The CS himself said that it's the wise thing to do. And people wondered, okay, is there a veiled threat in there? If I don't do it, what does that mean if I don't have a Huduma number? The PS also went on to talk about, as of now, the data is sitting idle because of this High Court order. So they have gotten the data, but it's sitting somewhere as they wait for this to be sorted out. Was it not mandatory? Is that the sentiment you got when you had it the first time, Gabriel?
You see, first of all, the communication that was coming for the Huduma number was, you know, at the end of the day, it is a good thing to have. And if you don't have it, really, it will not be business as usual, if I may put it. Yes, they could not probably, they may have missed or they may have played around with that quote-unquote word
Right.
mandatory.
Right.
But what it spoke to the hearts of many is that this is a number. If you don't have this, then there could be issues. And I think along the communication, some people actually made it worse. The likes of the CA, the former CA DG, Francis Wanguzi, and at one point I remember he was making a press. I don't know whether it was a press conference or what have you, and he said you wouldn't even be able to buy a SIM card.
Yes, that had been.
Yeah, you remember that?
Yes, that presser.
So, and I think when people read that, could it have invoked fear, right? But true to the fact is, they kept the language, they kept that particular element that, yes, it was not mandatory,
Right.
but it was a good thing to have.
Right.
So, from where we are seated where is that process thus far?
Okay.
Has it attained, or will it be able to capture and attain what needs to be done? And I've thought by now we should have been done with this whole matter of Huduma. And then again, I also feel to Mwananchi Mashinani, you still have so many people who do not understand what Huduma was supposed to do.
Right.
It could be a good thing, but still Mwananchi does not understand what is it supposed to do for me.
That's where I really want us to go with this, because Dr. Halwale, some people are saying, okay, fine, I have my ID number, I have my KRA number, I have my phone number if you want to get my transactions. Was there really a need for this Huduma number that was made? We have to do it now. This is the deadline. If you don't do it, this is the end of mass registration. They say it wasn't mandatory, but was there really a need to begin with? And then right after that, we had the census, where they asked you about the Huduma number still, if you have one or not. Why the urgent rush for this particular number?
Just like what we have been discussing on demonetization, we all agreed that we needed a currency which was more secure. So it was a good thing. But the way it was done, it was managed badly.
Yes.
Again, in the case of the Huduma number is an excellent idea.
Yeah.
To integrate the system so that you manage data through a one-shop sort of arrangement is an excellent idea. In fact, it invites a lot of benefits as far as security is concerned, invites a lot of benefits as far as convenience is concerned, and so on and so forth. However, it is the way they did it. It was not preceded with an attempt to enlighten the public on what integration meant and what benefits it was going to come with it.
Right.
So, having mismanaged it right from the word go, this is now why they're having problems. Unless Kibisho thinks Kenyans are mad people, Kenyans heard him say, and they heard his senior officers say, and including assistant chiefs in the villages, tell people that this was mandatory. And now that they are now faced with challenges, court cases and what have you, that's why he's forced to do the way, talk the way they should just have insisted from the beginning. This is an important thing. They educate people on why it is important. It could even have taken 6 months. Could have even taken 1 year. Yeah. The process. What was the rush for?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it was the how that was a problem, not the fact that they did it.
Yeah. But Jeff, it's still good to insist that I think the Huduma number was a brilliant idea. It's a brilliant idea because if you have one single number that brings all these other issues, into one platform, your biometrics, what have you, it actually makes it easier for you to get not only government services, but like what somebody was saying, when you want to go and get a passport, it's just that number that you'll, and then you don't have to bring all your share certificate, I don't know your PIN, I don't know your, the whole thing, then your passport is ready. Then the other thing, and I keep insisting, the world is changing, and you need to actually separate the good guys from the bad guys. Right. And such technologies, such as the Huduma number, is what would be used to separate, such people. Right. Rarely will you have somebody, who is into terrorism activities wanting their biometrics to be found, their facial recognition. Yes. Nobody wants to do that. And this is a very good technology. So, and I agree with Daktari. Mainly, it's not the exercise per se. it is a communication.
Right. Yeah. Let's move on now from the People Daily to the Daily Nation's front page. Murubi land ownership row haunts Ruto. Lobby has written to the DCI, DPP and EACC seeking to have the Deputy President investigated for irregular purchase of a 900-acre parcel of land, which is former VP's vast ranch right there. The Deputy President also has tweeted on this particular headline. He says, the now persistent, obviously sponsored fake news by hired bankrupt media that finds it difficult to make a sale without the name Ruto, Bure Kabisa, Riswa. He says, Dr. Halwale, I mean, you talk to the Deputy President pretty often. What's his is it a fascination we have with the Deputy President and what he owns? He said he's severally indifferent fora that after the whole story of the lifestyle audit, we've audited him several times in public and it usually stops there. Yes. Is it a fascination with what he has?
I think if Deputy President was not running for president, and if he was not the front runner, you would not be seeing these headlines. So this serves a particular narrative. I've just said a few minutes ago that the issue of demonetization was given a face called Ruto has got money in sacks all over the place.
Right.
Now he's come out clean. Again on this one, he's going to come out clean. We are yet to look at the details of this particular headline.
Right.
But from the way I've seen it, just by scanning it, they are saying he bought. They are not saying he grabbed. So if a guy has bought, what else do you want him to do?
Dr. Halwale, the lobby is saying,
they're
saying they want investigations carried out into who paid the principal amount, as the only money that can be accounted for right now is 634,000 paid for stamp duty in 2015 through a banker's check number. They've given it right there to Chase Bank in Nairobi. So stamp duty was paid. The actual money for the purchase of land can't be accounted for. And that's the issue. And some people are saying, is he perpetually unlucky when it comes to buying land, the Deputy President? Because this isn't the first time we've had him saying that. I mean, it was a willing buyer, willing seller, but all of these issues now crop up later on.
I'm telling you, it's just the old saying that if you want to kill a dog, you start by giving it a bad name. That's so. Otherwise, there are very many people buying land, including my brother here. You call it Kishagi. You might have bought something small. You might have bought something small at home. If somebody wants to pursue you on how you did it, then find a mistake. Right. So I think this is rubbish. It's nothing. It's not national news.
I think he's also said Riswa. As well as
and sometimes it's good. In matters land, I've always supported what the former CS lands wanted to do, land digitization. If we are to continue with that trajectory in matters lands, and I think it will be better when we are doing deals in matters land. But coming to this issue, I think there's more than meets the eye when you use the word irregular. That irregular, I think, is what must be defined. What is irregular, right? Is it the transaction? Is it the land? Is it the price? Is it where the land sits? Read that entire story. I read it, and Daktari, I have not seen anything properly defined, Jeff, unless probably you look like somebody who deal in matters land.
I haven't had any experience at the ministry.
Probably your side hustle is matters land.
Well, we looked at it, and that's what I was saying. The lobby's biggest question that has raised this particular issue was who actually received this particular monies, because they can track the money up until the stamp duty payment.
Yes.
But this other money seems like it vanished.
So what is irregular?
They don't know the principal who received the money. Did they pay for stamp duty and just get the title deed?
Now that's what needs to come out. For us to be able to actually look at this whole issue properly and be able to analyze it, give us all the facts.
Right. So do you think this is sensational from the Daily Nation's front page?
You see, and it's not only this. There was another headline that came out. Nowadays I don't know why people are running to headlines. There was another one that was saying, Kenya is buying I don't know what military helicopters, and it was quite sensational. If you looked at really the factuals, the serious elements, you found there's nothing else than just You know, it's sensational headlines. And you know, I'm reminded what the president at one point said. Gazeti saa zingine ni ya kufunga nyama. So it is always good. It is always good to ensure that, you know, when you have glaring headlines, it is followed by content, proper content. Right. It is very good where we are heading. You know, it is very good. Don't just push the headlines there so that people can buy the newspapers or people can buy your, you know, your publication.
Right.
Let it be followed by serious content.
Yeah, and then the editorial board of this particular paper.
Right.
It should disturb them. That the person they are reporting is complaining is some mysterious lobby group, the complainant in this particular issue.
Right.
The actual people who should have been in a position to complain is either the AFC or the family of the late Murumbi. Yes. None of them has complained. So some busybodies, activists, whatever they call themselves, they have gone in their idleness, they have roamed around and they have gone to Nation, and Nation gives them front page status. Honestly, this is no longer a newspaper. Or if it is still a newspaper, then they should fire the people they have employed.
Right.
Yeah. They can't be picking my 60 shillings every day to feed me with this kind of crap. Do you know 60 bob?
Yes.
60 bob can make the difference between life and death. You go to some of the health centers, a child has malaria, the hospital has got quinine, but that quinine must be put through a transfusion. I mean, it should be given through an infusion. So they need fluids. That fluid bottle costs around 40 to 60 shillings.
Wow.
If the mother who has been given a prescription to go and buy doesn't have that 40 to 60 shillings, the child dies.
Wow.
So it is not small money. These people should know that we are giving them business, serious business of 60 bob.
Right.
They cannot be feeding us with this.
Well, of course, we've had the DP sentiments on this and yours as well. So we'll wait and see if there will be a follow-up as to more details as to what happened in this particular land ownership.
And when that follow-up is there, they should not tell us. Let them do it and just disappear with it in shame.
That's a front page of the Daily Nation. Strong sentiments right there, indeed. Let's talk about another story, of course, and this still also, we touched on it before we went into the break.
Right.
And it matters public debt. Government talking about the fact that they are feeling that having our public debt pegged to the GDP in terms of percentage isn't the correct way to go, because we'll always be moving the line depending on the GDP.
Yes.
That means it goes higher. So they're suggesting that we have an absolute figure. This is what we'll be using in terms of how much we are going to borrow. But the Kenyan hears this, and all they hear is debt. All they hear is more money being borrowed.
By the way, and this I know may ruffle some feathers.
Are you for it?
Debt is not bad, contrary to what people have said.
Regardless of how much it is?
Debt is not bad, right? It is pegged on two things. How fast you are to recoup that debt. How or what activities you're doing to be able to recoup that debt.
Right.
What is the timeline that you pay that debt on? I know people in this country and places that have been to school and whatever, who have built very good businesses, who've built very good lives based on debt. They've been able to service their debts, they've been able to pay their debts back, they've been able to take more debt, and they've been able to actually put a very serious extensionalism in both their lives and their businesses. So contrary to what people say, debt is not bad. It is how you manage it.
Right.
Right? Yes, from one area, taking too much debt actually will strangle you. Leave alone even knowing how to manage it. Once it's too much, then it will bog you down.
Right.
Because every time you wake up, it will be, how do you sort this out? How do you pay and what have you? And really that will actually stifle you from actually engaging in activities that would actually ensure that you pay that debt quite quickly.
Right.
But there are other things that we need to look at. It's when you come to our national debt, there are several things, and I've had so many people, including very educated people, make this mistake. Do you know, like right now we are looking at the roads when we say, how are we going to pay this debt? When you look at the SGR, how are you going to pay this debt? What we are failing to understand, Daktari, is that we need to ask ourselves, how do we help government to pay this debt? When a road is built, per se, it is an economic enabler to ensure that me and you trade on it, pay our taxes, and the government quickly pays that road. All right? When the SGR comes out, it's me and you to know it's not much of the things coming into the country. What are we taking out? That is the kind of mentality. The government will not make money by building schools. The government will not make money by building health centers. All right? But those health centers are an economic enabler if you look at them, because they'll make you healthy so that you can work and be part of raising the standards of our economy.
Right.
So you see how it is a mosaic of deeds and developments that form the basis. We are removed so many years from development. So for us to be able to join in the sophisticates of the 21st century, we must move very quickly to cover this gap.
There's a counter argument to that.
Otherwise,
let me bring it in. When you're speaking about the roads, and for example, let's talk about the SGR.
Yes.
In the sense that we had a government that was really going all in on mega projects.
Yes.
And then once they're in, they realized probably it wasn't as feasible as they thought.
Yeah.
You've seen with the SGR, there was a directive that all cargo would have to be moved there. Then they rescinded it. But on the ground, they say they still have to move containers via the SGR. Projections dropped as well.
Let me tell you something.
Was it wrong from the planning?
Let me tell you something about the SGR. And I've had so many people say it was not well thought of. People and investment, never be cheated. Follow development. Investment will always follow development. If we do not have this SGR, and when somebody wants or investors want to use that particular SGR to build whatever economy they want to, guess what they'll do? They will go to a nation that offers them that facility. Right? If the SGR was built 20 years ago, we would have had the difference. You would have felt the difference. What we are running to, Daktari, and this one I've seen a lot of Kenyans making the mistake, we want immediate gratification.
Right.
Countries are never built by immediate gratification. It is always delayed gratification. Because half of the things that we are doing, take China for example. Do you know what China has done? China have prepared the next 65 years. You see what we had, our Vision 2030? China's is 65 years. When they know the current crop of leadership will not be there. So they are putting resources that will determine how China is run 65 years from now. Delayed gratification.
Dr. Lola, let me bring you in on this as well, because we've seen the government trying to put austerity measures. CS Finance has spoken about the fact that they're going to cut costs in order to make sure they don't waste money as they do this. Are they doing enough in terms of debt management? Because we've spoken about the fact that any Kenyan hearing the government and debt, they just like, do not take another loan, please. Do anything else other than taking a loan. That's the sentiment on the ground right now. They feel like we're just taking too much debt. Have they done enough in terms of managing what they have in their port?
Again, my beef is with the sensationalization of reporting. Any businessman, every person who does business knows that debt and borrowing is part of doing business.
Right.
It's perfectly normal. Without it, businesses cannot grow.
Right.
The problem, just to add on what he said, he's talked about management of debt. I'll not waste time on it. You handle it well. The other aspect is the money you borrow, to what use do you put it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If we borrow money to build the SGR, and then use that money to actually build the SGR at the international standard, that is a good date. Problem is, you borrow the money to build the SGR, then either you don't complete it, or you build a substandard line.
Exactly. That's it.
The reason why we're going to have problems with the SGR in Kenya is because we think SGR can be profitable by running it from Mombasa to either Naivasha or Malaba, and it ends there. It can never be profitable. SGR will be profitable if it runs all the way from Mombasa to Kampala, to Kigali, and to Juba. Otherwise, if you expect that it is going to pay for itself by carrying goods from Mombasa to Naivasha, it's a lie.
Right.
So what we need to do is we engage into serious talks with the Uganda, Kigali, and Burundi to ensure that they also take their part of the SGR and complete it.
Right.
In fact, to me, SGR should not have been developed as a national project. It should ideally have been developed as an East African community project.
Right.
That way, then the doing business in the East African community would be more profitable than trying to run a very expensive SGR within Kenya.
Wow.
And finally, we needed to borrow slightly more, and Kenyans don't kill me for this.
You feel that we need to take another one?
We need, as far as the SGR is concerned, we need to make sure that it is an electric train. We needed more money so that we do not put there easy these old engines that are there. You needed to put there the tubes, which are run on which are run on electricity. We needed that, so we needed to do a more comprehensive HCR than the one we have done, SGR than the one we've done.
Right. Let some people react on that as well as we take this break right now. Should have borrowed a bit more to make sure you get that electric line right there. We'd love your feedback at K24 TV. You can also SMS us on 21222. Ichmutu saying Huduma number, census poorly managed, no public participation at all. How can Karanja deny the threats him and Matiang'i issued, forcing Kenyans to line up for hours? CS Matiang'i and PS Karanja should be truthful to Kenyans on what they've done right there. He's one of those who's feeling that he went because it was a threat, nothing else. What's your take on this? Tweet us at K24 TV. We're back with more after the break.